Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Point Yin. My name is Meg and I'll be leading you through your practice. Today we'll be addressing some of the common tension patterns that can occur when you sit at a desk all day for your job, or you commute and sit in the car and drive long distances every day, or just find yourself sitting a lot. So we'll be going through a little bit of lower body, quad stuff, quad tension, working into the feet, and then also working into the upper back and neck. But before we get into that, we'll take a few moments to settle the nervous system, breathe, relax. So whether you're sitting in a chair, on the ground down into your sit bones, let your legs relax, anchoring through your lower body. Stack your spine right on top of your hips, keeping the spine's natural curve all the way up through the back of your neck. And getting a little tuck in your chin to lengthen the back of your neck. Roll your shoulders up to your ears, deep breath in. Exhale, settle them down and back. And allow your elbows to relax right underneath your shoulders, your hands to rest on your thighs, not gripping, not pushing away, just letting your arms be heavy. And then soften your belly so you can start to breathe down past the lowest set of ribs, behind your navel, feeling that expanse of breath with every inhale, feeling your belly or ribs come back towards midline on your exhale. And you can soften your gaze out in front of you, looking at a spot on the ground, or close your eyes completely. Softening your face, softening your jaw, and allowing yourself to tune into the sensation of breath. Noticing all the feelings. You can feel everywhere where your body makes contact with the ground or makes contact with itself, feeling the touch of your hands on your thighs, the wrap of your legs touching into each other. Maybe you notice the feeling of your clothes resting on your skin. But taking this time in stillness helps us switch into a meditative state where we aren't focusing on our thoughts as much. Right? We're letting the thoughts fade into the background. Doesn't mean our brain stops thinking, of course. The brain never stops thinking. You don't need to clear your mind. But the focus is on feeling, on sensation, right? It doesn't have to be an analysis of those things. You're not listing out anything in your head. You're just feeling. We'll start to deepen the breath. So exhale all of your air. Inhale through your nose until you can't breathe in anymore. So fill up into the ribs, behind the shoulder blades, into the belly. And once you can't breathe anymore, exhale. Let all the breath back out, keeping it slow, keeping it smooth, and pressing out until there's nothing left, until you've pressed out all of the stale air. And then breathe in again. Inhale fully until you can't anymore. Then exhale fully until you can't anymore. And that's it. There's no count. There's no specific rhythm that your breath has to take. You're just breathing fully. And in that way, you are letting sensation dictate the rhythm of your breath, not so much your brain or your analysis of it. And when we take time in stillness like this, it can help us come into ourselves, get to know ourselves a little bit better, and separate the chatter of our monkey mind, right? All of the obsessive thoughts or critical thoughts or just random observations and clutter that is often going on in our head from what I might call intuition or from knowing your true desires, right? Meeting aspects of your true self. And doing that work of separating one from the other. And a big part of that is being patient, right? Being willing to stick with the discomfort or anxiety or boredom that may come up as your mind keeps chatting away and you keep coming back to your breath and sensation until you hear that growl of truth, right? What it is that you really think, really feel. And then noticing that, right? Honoring that part of yourself, whether it is something that you feel excited about or happy about, whether it's something that scares you or makes you feel nervous. And any meditative practice that you engage in, right, where thinking about your thoughts isn't the focus, just feeling is the focus, just being is the focus, that will help with that excavation, excavating what is real, what is true for you. And meditation stimulates your prefrontal cortex, so that helps with your sense of well-being and sense of happiness. It lowers your cortisol, so your stress hormone. And all of this function in your body helps you settle in, helps you drop into being you. So take one more round of breath, full inhale, as deep as you can, full exhale until you can't breathe out anymore. And when you're finished, come back to a little more natural breath, and it might be exactly the same as what you've been doing, but let your breath be natural, no effort there. You can blink your eyes to open if they were closed. And we're going to start in the lower body today. So you're going to come over onto your knees, setting yourself up with your toes tucked under, and then walk your knees back towards your feet so you're really tucking your toes under. You can reach back and move the second or the last two toes, the pinky toe and the, we'll say, ring toe, away from the rest of them. So you have a nice flare there, and that'll just get more stretch. I know it's a little odd adjustment, but it'll help. Then hands can rest down on your thighs. Keep a nice long posture in your back, so tailbone points down, crown of the head lifts up. And you can stay in stillness here, enjoying the sensation of fire toes pose. Or you can start to rock right and left, nice and slow. Feeling the sensation all the way from one pinky toe to the other. It can help you get more even of a stretch all the way across the feet. And if you're experiencing burning in the bottoms of your feet, a stretching sensation, that's exactly right. It is called fire toes pose. And you're stretching out the fascia, the connective tissue in the bottoms of your feet. And I do this in a desk posture, seated posture video, because a lot of times the stress and tension in our feet can work its way up our legs and create more tension up our hamstrings and into our glutes, because our feet are the base of our body and they get a lot of action throughout the day, even if we're sitting, because we often are wearing shoes that aren't the most helpful to the natural shape of our foot. A lot of us wear high-heeled shoes This is very stressful on the shape of the foot, and they often compress the bones of the foot together, so they're not able to spread, the toes aren't able to spread and take up space. And other than high-heeled shoes, anything even as low of a heel as a cowboy boot can create stress in the foot, or work boots. It's like putting a cast on your foot all day. So that doesn't help the natural shape of the foot. It can create a lot of stress in our feet. And a lot of us will also flex the toes up, creating strain in the tops of our feet, which translates up the shins. And then our feet also are how we generate force, right? Imagine standing and pushing on something. You're drawing your force up from the ground through your feet. So even if you feel like it's all arm strength, if you were floating, you couldn't do that, right? That isn't how that works. So we draw strength from our feet, we balance on our feet, we tend to put our feet in dumb shoes, and then we don't spend a lot of time pampering our feet and taking care of this great stabilizing structure. All right, take another full breath in, full breath out. You can walk your hands back onto the ground, untuck your toes nice and slow, roll out the ankles, wiggle the toes around. And then we're going to take the opposite direction. So you'll need a bolster or something similar, place it behind you, and place your toes on top of the bolster. Knees are going to be together, feet, ankles as close together as possible, and then sit back on your heels again. And the more of your foot is on the bolster, so if I were to back up, put my entire foot on the bolster, the less stretch you're going to get. So if it's too much for you, put more of your foot on the bolster. It'll support your ankle more. You'll get less stretch. If you need more, make sure just your toes are on that bolster as you sit back. And then you can really sink your weight back into your sit bones. Maybe walk your hands onto the bolster if you need more. And it'll be a similar sensation, but on the tops of your feet and your ankles. Allow your shoulders to relax back. You can even soften your eyes closed again here. Taking the breath in and out with intention. Noticing what it feels like to be still, to be with whatever sensation is not only showing up in your feet and ankles, but in the rest of your body, and with thoughts that are showing up in your head. Knowing that your thoughts aren't you. You don't need to follow them down a train or down a rabbit hole. You can always let that thought go, no matter how exciting or frightening or inspiring it is. You can let that thought go, come back to it later, or not, and come back to an attention on sensation, on breath, and just being here. All right, one more full breath in. Big breath out. And you can walk your hands again back onto the mat. Take your feet off of that bolster. Roll out your ankles. Then we'll warm up in the legs just a little bit before we get into our first big quad stretch. So, from a tabletop position, shoulders over the wrists, hips over the knees. Then keeping your left knee bent, send the foot up towards the ceiling. Flex the toes back towards the knee, and then big circles with the thigh bone. Big wrapping circles. exploring your range of motion, using your core to stabilize. And pause, take it the other direction. And stamp your foot up towards the ceiling. Make sure you're picking up your navel, so you're not dumping into your lower back, keeping that neutral. Press up through the sole of your foot, press up through the sole of your foot. And release. We'll take the other side. Right foot kicks up towards the ceiling. Then big circles with the thigh bone. Breathing as you move, spreading your fingers wide so you get good purchase on the mat, good stability there. Noticing any snap, crackles, and pops in the hip joint. Take it around the other direction. And stamp your foot up towards the ceiling. Again, picking up the lower belly, press the ground away, kick up high. Press, 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 deep breath in. Exhale, lower that leg back down. All right, so we're gonna need our bolster and 2 blocks for this first one. And you're gonna set your bolster up like a ramp and start it so that the block is on the highest setting. And you can always adjust as we get into it. Then the other block will be on the lowest setting, just in front of the bolster. Sit on your block. Take your left leg out in front of you and tuck your right foot in by your hip. So a couple of things already. If your foot does not want to rest like this, if you're having pain in your ankle, or your knee is already coming up off the mat, make sure you have a blanket handy. And you can put a blanket underneath your knee. You can take that blanket, put it underneath your foot. You can even roll it up and really support your ankle here. And if that's what you need to do, if you need to roll up that blanket and support your ankle, bring the block up to the second highest level. That'll give some more space for your hip angle and for your ankle to rest down. So those are some adjustments already. All right, so right foot in close to your hip, left leg out in front of you, maybe supported in some other way, and then lay back over your bolster. Let your shoulder blades come together, let your head relax back. And then if this is not enough stretch for you, you can bring your block down to a lower level. Make sure your heel is in close to your hip, so you can always pull your foot a little closer back towards you, get that knee to ground. Or take your block completely out from underneath your bolster. You're still sitting on the block, and then laying back over your bolster. And then as you set yourself up again, shoulder blades come together, chest remains open. And then the effort is to relax your thigh, relax your knee. And in any of these height variations, you can stick a bolster, or not a bolster, a blanket underneath your knee or underneath your ankle if you need that support. We do just one leg at a time. I find that it helps the lower back to not arch so much. And then as you settle in here, coming back to breath, maybe shutting down the eyes, separating the teeth or the lips to relax your mouth and jaw. See if you can relax the left leg as well. So you're not pushing the leg down into the mat, you're letting it be nice and floppy. Your neck is relaxed, your head is heavy. And as you get deeper into a meditation practice and meet yourself again and again, keep sifting out what is yours from what is everyone else's, what is actually true for you, you may find that that thing has changed over time. That what was true for you as a belief at one time is no longer resonating with you, or a way of being, a habit, is no longer serving you. And that can create a lot of fear for a number of reasons. One, we can get pretty comfortable or used to how we are, right? Our ego loves to protect our identity and keep us doing the same thing, even if it's not really what we want to be doing. And even more than that, I think for a lot of people, is how will the people in your life react when you change? Because it's a lot easier to pretend that you're the same person, to keep entertaining old habits or old belief systems or old relationships, rather than running the risk of upsetting the people in your life, scaring the people in your life, pushing the people in your life away because they loved that old version of you. But you don't actually have to do anything specific in order to be loved or be lovable. There is no, specific actions or merits or habits that you need to have in order to make you good enough to deserve love. Right? You, exactly how you are, the person that you really are, right? Being authentic, being true to yourself, that person deserves love. And anyone who tells you otherwise is wrong. But that doesn't make it any less scary. To reveal yourself, to share a new part of yourself and face rejection, right? All human beings on some level fear rejection and definitely work against rejection. But it is also a part of life. All right, take another 2 or 3 breaths here. Unhurried, nice and slow, allowing your body to be heavy. And when you are finished, you can come up and slowly unbind your leg, send it out in front of you, give it a shake. And then we're going to do a trigger point on that side before we move on to the other side. So for the next one, you're just going to need your lacrosse ball. It can be handy to have a blanket or a bolster, and I'll demo how you might use those. So right side, we're going to get into rectus femoris, or the muscle right in the middle of our quad, or one of the quad muscles. So about hands width distance below your hip crease, right? So if you find where your body creases, right? Just one hand's width below that is where you're going to want that lacrosse ball. So, staying on the right side, you're going to lay on your belly, place the lacrosse ball where you want it, and then the other leg is going to come out to the side, like a half frog pose. And that's where it may be helpful to have, a different direction here, have a blanket to place underneath your knee if your knee is sensitive at all. Just kick all these props out of the way. There we go. If your knee is sensitive at all, you can put a blanket underneath your knee. And if you would like to rest over a bolster or have a pillow underneath your chest, that's welcome. You can also lay flat on the ground. So that I can keep talking, I'm gonna stay up on my forearms. But do try and relax your shoulders, relax your neck. Be more passive than I'm being right now. And then breathe into that sensation. Whenever we get into the quads, it tends to be a lot. And you're looking for change, right? You're looking for the quad muscle to soften, the rectus femoris to soften, to go from maybe a lot of sensation to just a little bit or no sensation at all with that lacrosse ball. Long breaths, helping your nervous system along. And I believe that it is kinder to be honest about who you are and how you feel. If you have outgrown a habit, but are still entertaining it because someone in your life wants to engage in it with you, or wants your support around them still doing it, or it is classically a way you have connected, it's not serving you or that person to pretend. Pretending can be nice, right? It can save your feelings of nervousness around being honest, or of fear of being rejection or being rejected. And it can potentially save their feelings of losing connection with you, or feeling dumped or whatever. But that's also all theoretical. They may or may not feel hurt by the revelation of the new you, right? They may appreciate that change. They may honor your growth. And wouldn't that be lovely? So niceness, not really very helpful. Kindness, on the other hand, right? Being honest, showing your new self, showing how you have evolved or what is different in your life, and offering that as a way to grow in relationship, right? It's not, I have changed and I'm leaving you behind, or maybe it is. I don't know what your situation is. But that's not necessarily what it means. It can be an offering of, here is this new part of myself. I would love to share it with you. Wouldn't it be great if we could grow together? And instead of just, showing a little bit, getting a reaction maybe that you didn't want, and then retreating back into your old self, having the bravery to stand by it, to stand by who you are. All right, take another breath or two here. And then you can come off of that lacrosse ball. If you need to shake out your leg, get any movement there to recover, go ahead and do it. And then we'll set up for that whole thing on the other side. So again, finding your bolster. If you need a block underneath the bolster, I suggest starting with one either way, even if you ended up taking it all the way out on the other side. Start with it at least on the lowest level, because we tend to have different patterns of tension from one side to the other. So be gentle with your body. Right leg will fully extend this time. Left heel is by your hip. And then lean back, getting as much or as little support as you need. You can always sound with your breath as you settle into the shapes, taking open mouth exhales, sighing, yawning, making any variation of sound really as you settle in can help your nervous system adjust. Because our nervous system likes that sounding. Making sound with breath is a good release for our nervous system. And so sighing is a neurological response to stress to release tension. So making as much sound as you want to. Sigh, yawn, flutter your lips. And then relax back as much as possible, letting your upper body be held by your prop. Letting your right leg fully relax, letting that foot flop out to the side, letting your left knee get heavy. Allowing your pelvis to be supported. And again, if you're having more tension in your knee, you can always bring that block up to a higher height, give a little more space for your knee, for that angle. And it can also help if you're feeling pinching in your lower back to bring the block up to a higher height, so that your pelvis can be a little bit more level. You can lengthen out your lower back a little bit more. Keep using your breath as an anchor, bringing your attention back to the feeling, to the movement of it. Human beings are always in flux, right? There is really no such thing as stability. Not in our relationships, not in our internal landscape, not in our moods. Everything fluctuates. And we evolve, we grow. We can even contradict ourselves, right? Something that I believed when I was in my teens is not necessarily something that I believe now. And, thank goodness that we can evolve our ideas and our beliefs, and that there is no rule that we're not allowed to contradict ourselves or have a completely different thought pattern or belief system that we did at any time in our life. And that's not something to be resistant to or afraid of or ashamed of. I think that we should celebrate that we are infinite beings, that we are complex and many-layered creatures. Allow your legs to get as heavy as possible, checking in again to make sure you're not gripping, pressing the mat away, lifting the legs, trying to really control them in any way. And take 2 more full breath cycles using your exhales to get even heavier. After those 2 breath cycles, work your way back up. Untuck your leg. Give a little windshield wiper of the feet. Get some movement of the femur in the hip socket. And then you'll come off of all those props and we'll set up for the other side of the rectus femoris trigger point. Ooh. All right, so I'll be doing my left side now, again about a hand's width distance below where you crease, below your hip flexor, right in the middle of your quad, of your thigh. Then laying on your belly, always just kicking the props out of the way. Place the lacrosse ball where you want it, and then other knee will come out to the side. And breathe into it. I'll demo what it would look like with laying over a prop. So again, same thing. Lacrosse ball in the middle of the quad, other knee out to the side, and then you can just fully relax over a bolster if you want to. And my pelvis isn't on the mat, my belly's not on the mat. That's fine. It can be floating, it can be all the way down. Again, you can lay fully down on the mat. Just make sure, however you are set up, that it is sustainable and that it is breathable. You can always use a tennis ball instead of a lacrosse ball to get into the quads or to get into anywhere, really, if you need something softer. It's not about, trying to make it hurt or, pressing as hard as you physically can. You need to be able to relax. You need to be able to breathe. And if you're not breathing and you're not in the process of softening and relaxing and letting go, then it's not working, right? The goal isn't to bruise yourself. The goal is to soften that muscle, break up knots, and release trigger points. So breath, relaxation, that is essential. And you can always roll that lacrosse ball down a little bit, move it up a little bit. You'll still be in rectus femoris. You're just exploring the body of that muscle. By a little bit, I mean maybe an inch in either up or down, in either direction, to see where you get a good amount of therapeutic sensation. Take another breath or two here. And you can come off of that lacrosse ball. Shake out your leg as much as you need to. And then I'll demo what we're going to do next. So We're going to take a minute to warm up the subscap and work the subscap, the muscles underneath the scapula, underneath the shoulder blades. And that helps to pull your shoulder blades onto your back, strengthen those muscles of the back so that if you've been, typing at a computer all day and you sort of round the spine and the shoulder blades come around the sides of the rib cage or the shoulders roll forward, when you strengthen the muscles in between the shoulder blades and underneath the shoulder blades, it helps to draw the shoulder blades back, open all of that up, and it assists in fighting those muscles of your chest, your pec muscles, that are the ones that pull the shoulders forward. So you're going to need a stretchy band, a light stretchy band, and you can use either a theraband. I cut this off of a spool. You can buy them pre-cut. There's other brands that are not theraband. Doesn't really matter what it is. Make sure that it's light. You don't want to overdo it. These are small muscles. So you can sit back on your heels or stand if you want to. And the key is you're going to pin your elbows in towards your waist. So elbows are pinned in, shoulders are rolled back, right? Shoulders are back and down. And that doesn't make you lean back or back bend. Everything stays neutral still. And then you can hold the theraband, thumbs can point up or even away from each other. And again, elbows squeezing in, and then pull the hands away from each other until your hands are about out to the side of your body, right? In the side seam of your body. And then bring them back together. Elbows staying squeezed in, squeeze the shoulder blades together as you pull the hands away from each other and back together. You're going to keep doing that, drawing the shoulder blades down and back every time you pull the hands apart, just until you feel a burn. So it might be 3 times that you do this until you feel a burn in between the shoulder blades, underneath the shoulder blades. And as soon as you feel that burn, you can stop. And you can do this a couple times throughout the day, or do it every day, once a day, just making sure you're doing it kind of consistently so that you can strengthen those muscles and again help to strengthen the back to open the chest. All right, so after that, you can stay on your knees and you're just going to reach your right hand down towards the ground, making sure spine is long, lowest set of ribs is tucked in. Keep reaching those fingers away. Inhale. Exhale, left ear towards left shoulder. Reaching through the right hand. And then taking your left hand just behind the right ear, turn your nose down towards your armpit and let the weight of your hand rest on sort of the right back side of your head. And you may be feeling this down the back side, the right side of your neck. You might be feeling it across the top line of your shoulder. But shoulders are staying stacked over the hips. The spine is long. It's just your head that's bending over to the side. Deep breath in. Big breath out. And release your left arm. Roll your chin down to your chest. Let your arms hang for a moment. And then lift your head and we'll take the other side. Left hand reaches out. Inhale. Exhale, right ear towards right shoulder. Breathing into the stretch, breathing into the sensation you're feeling up the side of your neck. And then right hand can land just behind the left ear. Turn your nose down towards your armpit and let the weight of your hand rest on that side back portion of your head. Keep reaching the left fingertips away. Make sure that the shoulder is down and back, the left shoulder is down and back. All right, deep breath in. Big breath out. And relax that right arm. You can roll your chin down through center. And then pick your head back up. And I'll demo what we're going to do next. So you're going to take that lacrosse ball, and we can start with the right side, feeling that top muscle of the shoulder, your upper trap, that meaty muscle right on top. And right behind that is where you're going to want to put the lacrosse ball. So about halfway in between the head of your shoulder and the crook of your neck. And then once you lay down and have that lacrosse ball in the spot that you want it, you're going to tuck your hands behind your head and let your elbows open up. Then after that, you're going to take the lacrosse ball and bring it just to the inside of the upper corner of the shoulder blade. So you can, again, reach over your shoulder. There we go. Feel the top edge of the shoulder blade. And then as soon as you feel that corner, as it moves down, just to the inside of that, that is where you want the lacrosse ball for the second one. And that'll be for both upper traps and levators. So we'll do just the upper trap one first. I'm going to come onto your back, bring the lacrosse ball behind that upper muscle, and I'll sometimes place the lacrosse ball where I want it and then roll the lacrosse ball as if I was trying to roll it down towards my feet, but I'm really just turning it so it's pressing into the muscle a little bit more. I hope that made sense. And then hands lace behind the head, open up through the elbows. If that is too much sensation for you, you can cactus the arms out to the side, right? So hands aren't laced together. Or you can keep the hands laced together and maybe put a blanket or something underneath the right elbow so that it doesn't have to come all the way to the ground. And then relax your legs. You can do feet together, knees wide, legs extended, whatever is comfortable for you. And then breathe into it. With every exhale, letting your body get a little softer, a little heavier. Breathing fully. Allowing your attention to stay with sensation, to stay with whatever is happening in your body. As I said earlier, our ego really loves to protect our identity. And it doesn't really matter what aspect of who we are and what we're doing it is, right? If we get an injury and then have to deal with that injury over a long period of time, being injured, right, and needing to do special things around that injury, needing help around that injury, that can all become part of our identity. So when we are healed and don't need to do the same things and don't need the same kind of help, we can feel quite lost. And that's just one example. It really can be anything. Being a new mother, being in a relationship, not being in a relationship, having a certain job, being unemployed. Really, anything can become a defining part of our relationship, our identity. And then when our life changes, as it inevitably does, as we grow out of that phase of our life, we can feel lost, we can feel scared, and our ego will claw back towards all of the habits and needs and thought patterns that we held while we were that person, while we were injured, while we were working a certain job, while we were in a relationship. Take another 2 or 3 breaths right here. And when you're finished, you're going to move that lacrosse ball just to the inside of the upper corner of your right shoulder blade. And then once you get it right where you want it, and you can roll your body up or down a little bit in order to get that lacrosse ball into a spot where you feel a good amount of sensation, right? It can be, again, think half an inch up, half an inch down. You'll still be in a good spot from that perfect right next to the corner of the shoulder blade. So get it where you want it, and then take some movement. That could be moving your arm across your body, moving it overhead, bringing it out to the side, bringing it up towards the ceiling, and just seeing how sensation changes. And then once you find where you want your arm to rest, where you feel a good amount of sensation, let your arm relax there. And make sure that you're not putting effort into holding your arm there. So if you need to get a prop, get a prop. If you need to put a blanket or a block or a bolster underneath your arm, go ahead and do it. Like, I'm going to grab a block and have my arm up on this block over here so that my arm can be lifted, but I don't have to hold it there. And then again, slow breaths, allowing yourself to settle into it. So before we even consider sharing what is new within us with the people in our life, we have to be willing to touch into those more tender parts of ourselves. We have to be willing to see what's there, see what's new, see how we have changed or what is no longer serving us, and be really honest about that, right? Stay open to what we find, and also stay open to letting go of what we no longer need, right? And that can be as sad as losing a friend, right? But being willing to feel that tenderness, to mourn the loss of what's no longer with us, without clinging to it, without, trying to keep it around, that gripping or non-grasping, as we say in yoga, aparigraha, not grasping to it, and allowing yourself to grow with, more or less grace. All right, deep breath in, big breath out. Then you can come off of that lacrosse ball, maybe get a nice stretch in your arms or give yourself a hug. And then we'll move right on to the other side. So again, you'll find that muscle of the top edge of your shoulder and place the lacrosse ball right behind it, about halfway in between the crook of your neck and the head of your shoulder. You can always move it in towards the neck a little bit more, out towards the shoulder a little bit more. Explore. And then tuck your hands behind your head, let your elbows open up. And you might be feeling this up the back of your neck, into the base of your skull, maybe even into your jaw. I'm feeling it right at my suboccipital ridge on the left side, right where those levators and traps connect into the base of the skull. But do your best to soften into the sensation. Letting your face relax, your legs relax, your hips to sink down into the mat, soften in the bottoms of your feet. Relax your toes back into their natural curl. And that body scan can be pretty much continuous. Just feeling your way mentally up and down your body. Noticing any place where you could let go a little bit of tension, a little bit of effort. And as you scan your body, you may notice that you're holding up your left arm a little bit. Try and drop that, let that go. You may notice that you're holding up your head or gripping in your fingers. Any place where you can create some slack in the system of your muscles, do it. All right, one more full breath cycle here. Deep breath in. Big breath out. Then you can move that lacrosse ball just inside of the inner upper corner of your shoulder blade. And once you arrive there, get some movement in your arm. Checking out all of the different directions, checking out your range of motion. Seeing where you get good therapeutic sensation, and then resting your arm there. Notice if you have braced against this new round of sensation. Letting go in your jaw, letting your eyeballs settle back into your sockets. And you may get pushback from people in your life. Your growth, your development, your evolution isn't always met with joy. When we start pursuing something new or leave something old behind, the people in your life might say that it's out of character for you, or that they miss the old you, or they might show you the cold shoulder. And that is when some conversation is required. And I know that that takes a lot of bravery, having a tough conversation with someone who you actually care about. It can create all sorts of feelings, all sorts of resistance and nervousness and discomfort. But sharing yourself is a process, right? Love is a process. Relationship is a process. And I don't really think it can happen without some tough conversation. But ultimately, you have to honor who you are. The effort is in summoning the bravery to stick to your guns, to know that the change or the evolution or the realization of your own truth is important enough to stick with, is important enough to embody, whether the people in your life are on board or not. And people who really love you won't expect you to be the same person forever. Right? People who really love you, maybe they won't understand, especially not right away, but they will be able to celebrate your growth, even if that means that your relationship changes in some way. All right, take another 2 or 3 breaths here. And then whenever you're ready, you can take that lacrosse ball out from underneath your shoulder, set it aside, and we're going to work with the suboccipital ridge, and you're going to need a block for this next one. So you're going to use the block on the second highest level, or the medium level, and the edge of the block that is closer to your shoulders, is going to be right where your skull meets your neck. So when you lay down, place your head on the block, and then your chin is going to move in toward your chest. So you're not trying to look up at the ceiling. Nope, your head is relaxed. The corner of this edge is right in your suboccipital ridge, right where your skull meets your neck, and then you can just rock your head right and left, letting the full weight of your head rest back on that block, softening your cheeks, your tongue, your jaw, your eyes, muscles around your temples, your ears, your scalp. Letting all of that soften as you rock your head back and forth. And this should feel pretty nice. There's a lot of muscles that attach to the base of your skull, your traps and levators being some of them. And the tension in those muscles can move up through all of the muscles of your skull, into the muscles of your forehead, your eyebrows, your jaw, around your eyes, because they all attach there as well. So not only are you massaging all of those attachment points, but your head is heavy. And especially when you look down at your phone or down at your computer a lot during the day or in your life, I guess, your neck has to hold all of that up, all of that weight of your head. So massaging those muscles is good self-care for that. And we have a big bundle of nerves right at the base of our skull. So when you press on that, it can override some of the discomfort or pain receptors in the rest of your body. And really let your body relax and get heavy. Slow, smooth breaths. And you can really keep doing this as long as you want, as long as it feels nice. So if you need to pause the video and just keep doing this, go ahead and do it. I'm going to move on, so take another breath or two here. And then you can take that block out from underneath your head, let your head down to the mat, full body stretch. And then we're going to set up for our final shape. So we're going to use our blocks here, and I'm going to set them up so one is on the middle height, one is on the highest height. And I'm going to place the one on the middle height right behind the shoulder blade. So my butt is on the ground. It's really pretty high up on my back, right behind the shoulder blades. And then the other block is on the highest height behind my head. You can bring this block lower if that's more comfortable for you. It's usually more comfortable to keep your neck nice and long. You don't want the back of your neck to be crunched up. And then walk your shoulder blades together so they're hugging onto the back ribs. And then feet can be together with knees wide, or legs can be fully extended. Either way, make sure your legs are relaxed. Let your chest rest open. Again, shoulders down away from the ears. And then breathe into that space across your chest. Trying to breathe in between the ribs, underneath the collarbones, down into the belly. You can close your eyes, stay just like that. And we'll move through a body scan here. Just briefly draw your attention all the way down to the soles of your feet, allowing the soles of your feet to relax. Smoothing out that skin, maybe wiggling your toes and then letting them settle back into their natural curl. Softening your ankles and up your shins, relaxing your knees. Letting your calves get heavy. Your hamstrings relax. Soften your quads and the connection between femur and hip socket, as if your legs could fall right off your body. Soften in your glutes, letting them sink down into the mat. Relax your pelvis, allowing the halves to open up away from each other. Creating more space across the front of your hips for you to breathe into. Relax in your lower back, letting it grow up out of your hips. Feeling your spine stack one vertebrae on top of the last all the way up. Feel your rib cage supported, your shoulder blades hugging onto those back ribs. Smooth out the skin across your chest. And let your collarbones rest broad across its horizon. Melt your shoulders out of your ears, allowing your arms to be heavy, a gentle bend in your elbows, natural curl in your fingers. Relax all sides of your neck, knowing that your head is supported. You don't need to hold it up at all. You can open and close your mouth, relax your jaw, soften the back of your tongue, and allow your tongue to rest broad in your lower palate. Soften your lips and the corners of your mouth, relaxing your cheeks and the muscles around your eyes, letting your eyelids get heavy, your eyeballs settle back into the sockets. And smooth out your brows, your forehead, And relax the muscles around your ears, temples, and scalp. And then you can rest like this as long as you'd like. If you're ready to move on with your day, you can work your way up off of those blocks, taking your time, maybe taking a full body stretch first, or spreading the fingers wide, wiggling the toes, coming back to life slowly. And as you do come back up to a seat, check in with your body. If you need to get a little twist, a little bend, do it. Check in with how you're feeling. Notice what's present in your body. And then if you are choosing to come back up to a seat, hold your heart high. Keep the neck long, the crown of the head lifted. Breathe into your full length. Then you can bring a hand over your chest, feeling into the rhythm of your breath, your heartbeat. May your practice give us time and space to get to know ourselves better, to really feel into our bodies, feel into what is current with us, so we can wake up to who we are and share that person with the people that we love. Deep breath in together. Big breath out. Thank you for spending some time in self-care, for showing up to practice for yourself, for your body and your mind. And until next time, I hope you can let something go.